Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are unlocking the secrets of the craps table, and I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this. We're going to look closely at how you can gain genuine consistency and control over your dice throws, pulling straight from the strategies of expert casino players and dedicated dice coaches. If you've ever felt like you're just chucking the dice and hoping for the best, well, get ready, because we are about to completely change how you approach the game.
Okay, let's dive into this. When you use a poor, unpracticed grip, you're completely at the mercy of luck. The dice hit the felts, they scatter, and the bounce is entirely random and unpredictable. You're just gambling, right? But when you develop a strong, intentional grip, you're suddenly delivering an actionable, repeatable toss. You actually start to control the spin and the axis of the dice in the air. You aren't just playing a game of chance anymore. You're executing a practiced physical skill.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Exploring different dice grips. 2. The best grip for beginners. 3. Advancing your grip. 4. Perfecting your throw mechanics. And 5. Hitting the landing zone.
Section 1. Exploring different dice grips.
Before your arm even moves, your grip dictates absolutely everything about how those dice will behave. And what you'll find is that expert players use a wide variety of styles, all depending on their specific goals at the table and, of course, their personal skill levels. For instance, the four-finger grip offers incredible stability and is great for controlling a hardway set. Then you have the pinch grip, which relies on minimal contact, just the thumb and index finger. This one is ideal for higher spin throws, but it definitely requires a very skilled shooter. The stacked grip is a wild one. Stacking one die on top of the other is a specialty shot that's incredibly hard to control on the bounce. Honestly, you rarely see it used effectively in actual casinos. And then there's the ice tong grip. Just like holding a pair of tongs, you mirror your thumb and fingers on opposite sides. It's fantastic for a balanced release and keeping the dice on a consistent axis.
Let's move to a highly specialized technique, the two-finger pincer grip. This is currently the preferred grip of renowned instructors like the Dice Coach. It's an advanced grip that utilizes only the very tips of your fingers to create a tiny, precise control point with an incredibly light touch. It is brilliant for precision landing, but a quick warning here. Because the contact area is so small, it is highly sensitive. You absolutely must practice this one off the table at home before you ever try bringing it into a live casino environment.
Section 2. The best grip for beginners.
If you are just starting out, or if your current throw is all over the place, I promised you a clear, actionable starting point to build a rock-solid foundation. Across all the expert sources and dice-setting literature we analyzed, one technique stands out above the rest: the three-finger front grip. It is universally praised as the absolute best beginner technique. Why? Because it naturally produces straight, low-spin throws. It provides excellent stability without overcomplicating your hand placement, making it perfect when you're shooting from a short to mid-table position. If you want to gain control quickly, this is exactly where you start.
So the crucial point is how to execute this properly. Let's break it down. Step 1. Once your dice are set side by side, place your thumb directly on the back center of the dice seam. Step 2. Place your index, middle, and sometimes your ring fingers straight across the front face. And Step 3. Pay attention, because this is where most beginners fail. Keep those front fingers totally flat and use only the lightest pressure necessary to lift the dice. You're just holding them, not choking them. Let's look at exactly why that third step is so vital. When you use flat fingers, you keep the dice perfectly stable, and more importantly, they leave your hand smoothly. But the moment you curl your fingers, your natural instinct is to squeeze. Curled fingers mean you are digging your fingertips in, which creates unwanted skin friction. When you release, that extra friction causes the dice to grip your skin for a microsecond longer, resulting in an ugly, unpredictable mid-air wobble. Minimizing skin friction with flat fingers is the secret to a repeatable toss.
Section 3. Advancing your grip.
Once you've mastered that three-finger front grip, you'll find that your technique is naturally going to begin to evolve. As you play more, you'll need to adapt to different tables and different physical positions. A great example of this evolution comes from expert dice author Ed Jones. He started exactly where we just discussed, the standard deep three-finger front grip. But as he practiced, he realized that sometimes surface friction on the lift was causing inconsistencies, so he modified it. Step 2, he actually removed his index and ring fingers from the front of the dice entirely, leaving just his middle finger on the front and his thumb on the back. Step 3, he presses those removed fingers directly down onto the table surface,
Actually, scratch that. It's more like locking his hand against the table, giving him an incredibly secure, stable starting point before every single throw.
Another way you might need to adapt is based on where you're standing. If the casino is packed and you get stuck straight out, meaning you're all the way at the very end of a long table, the standard front grip might not give you enough power without losing control. Or you might find the table is extremely bouncy. In these cases, experts suggest switching to the diagonal grip. Holding the dice across their diagonal axis allows you to impart significantly more backspin, which acts like a brake when the dice hit a bouncy surface, basically keeping them from flying out of control.
Section 4. Perfecting your throw mechanics.
But here is the hard truth, folks. The most perfect frictionless grip in the world is completely useless without the proper physical throwing mechanics to back it up. And this brilliantly illustrates the ideal arm motion. Based on the teachings of legendary dice setter Yuri Kononenko, Ed Jones explains that his arm movement is always perfectly perpendicular to the back wall, finishing with a full follow-through to about eye level. Even though he releases the dice just a foot above the table, this smooth, pendulum-like follow-through creates a natural, slow backwards rotation. You don't need to snap or flick your wrist. The arm motion literally does the work for you.
Let's break down your entire body stance like we're in a coaching session. First, square your hips so they're parallel to the back wall, or to the stickman, depending on your position. Place one foot slightly ahead of the other and physically lean your body on the rail of the table to lock yourself in place. Next, pick a specific spot on the felt and focus completely on it. When you throw, use a soft, easy motion and ensure you open your hand fully to let the dice escape smoothly. Finally, you want your toss to arc at a 30 to 45 degree angle, adjusting slightly depending on how bouncy the table is.
Now, we also need to talk about what to avoid at all costs, because these pitfalls will ruin a great throw instantly. Never land your dice on someone else's chips. Find an empty landing zone before you toss. Avoid tossing too horizontally. If the dice hit the table and smash into each other, they're going to ricochet randomly and kill your control. Avoid shooting from the hook, that's the curved corner of the table, because it is incredibly difficult to align your hips properly from there. And lastly, stop fumbling. Practice your dice set at home so you don't waste time and lose your mental concentration while everyone is watching you at the casino.
Section 5. Hitting the landing zone.
We've set the grip, we've mastered the stance and the throw. Now we reach the final physical step of the craps throw, hitting the landing zone. Where exactly should these dice be touching down? 6 to 12. Remember those numbers. 6 to 12 inches before the back wall. That is the exact sweet spot where your dice must strike the table together on their first bounce. Not halfway down the table, and for sure not slamming directly into the back rubber. 6 to 12 inches out. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the geometry of the landing zone dictates a legal controlled rule. The golden rules state that if your first bounce is 6 to 12 inches out, your second bounce should occur right in that crease, exactly where the flat table surface meets the vertical wall. You must aim for the flat portion of the back wall. If you hit the curved corners, your dice will scatter. And crucially, both dice must physically touch the wall, keeping the arc low and smooth. If they don't hit the wall, the dealers will call a no roll, and all your hard work is totally wasted.
This brings us to a massive point about mental discipline. Once you have your mechanics dialed in, you have to trust them. Ed Jones urges players, grip the dice, find your landing zone, and stay focused on the landing zone until the dice come to rest. Stop watching the dice fly through the air. That shifts your body and your focus. Just stare unblinkingly at that 6 to 12-inch target zone on the felt and let your muscle memory do the rest.
So how do we bring this all together? Your ultimate goal is to build your very own signature toss. Don't try to learn 5 grips at once. Pick one grip, and I highly recommend the 3-finger front grip we discussed, and practice it until it's second nature. Repeat the exact same motion, the same stance, and the same follow-through on every single throw. Track your results over time. Consistency is the enemy of casino math. I want to leave you with a fascinating puzzle to think about before our next explainer. Imagine this. The casino is packed. The craps tables are completely full. Suddenly, you spot a guy packing up, ready to leave a table in defeat because he just lost all of his money. He is totally wiped out. As a player focused on precision throwing and dice control, why might you be absolutely thrilled to rush over and take his exact spot? Think about table positioning, table conditions, and everything we just learned about setting up a controlled environment. Thanks for joining me, and keep your focus sharp.